Now, going on to the culture part of the podcast, you have Disney extending the contract for the CEO to 2026, which is pretty astronomical given all the uncertainty and as well as all the business flops and business blunders that is, well, it is Disney right now. Now, Bob Iger is the current Disney. He actually took over from Bob Chapek. Bob Iger was previously the Disney CEO from 2005 to 2020. So he did have a long, successful tenure with the company. And then he had the other one come back. And interestingly enough, a lot of people were hopeful when he first rejoined the company. Back in November, he claimed that he wanted to get Disney out of politics because prior to Bob Iger coming back, you had Chapek going head-to-head with the governor of Florida, which is not cohesive to usually, I was about to say usually, it's not cohesive to play politics if you're in business and you're going against, they're going against the governor of Florida, and that's one of their main parks. They have two, one in California, one in Florida. And Florida subsequently started to take away some of their lucrative tax breaks, they had a lot of leverage in Florida. They basically created their own district. So it was almost like a mini country. It was a very bizarre, interesting thing where it led to them not having very much oversight from a government perspective. And the state of Florida had previously given them that privilege because they'd worked so well with the state. Which begs the question, why did they get involved in politics? Now, the real controversy with Disney came not only after the sexual themes that they put into children materials, which is concerning in and of itself, but they also decided to get involved with a specific bill in the state of Florida, which was pejoratively called the Don't Say Gay bill, which I know many Americans reading is a lost art, and many people perhaps can't. If you read the bill, it does not say that word once. It literally just says you're not allowed to discuss sexual themes with children, I believe up to grade 3 or 5 or 6. It's one of those things where it just said teachers can't bring up and talk about sexual things with children. Why a business would be against that? Beyond me, but Disney decided that was what they were going to stand for. So they decided to go head-to-head with the state of Florida, and they sponsored a opposition against the bill. And of course, Disney shareholders were wondering, what the hell are you doing? You're supposed to make content for kids, ideally profitable content and profitable intellectual property that you can maximize through decades because people fall in love with those little characters. Traditionally, for many decades, they basically printed money because they had all these intellectual property with all these characters, all these cartoons, and people loved them. They were a staple of Americana. And then they got infected with activists. If you look at who works there, all the secret meetings that were revealed. So people were hoping when Bob Iger came back, as he said, they were going to get out of politics. And then they didn't. So they've actually leaned into it where their last 3 movies were very political in terms of they had sexual themes in children cartoons. Many would say butcher Indiana Jones, which fiscally speaking, they're going to lose a lot of money on. I mean, they also injected that feminist character into the film, which had nothing to do with any of the other Indiana Jones movies ever. She actually punches him. And obviously, no one wants to see their favorite beloved character become a doddering old fool who's constantly patronized throughout the whole movie and made fun of throughout the whole movie. Who did they make that for? Clearly not people who actually liked Indiana Jones. And you saw that theme with many of their other films. They are losing money. They're bleeding money when they used to print money. They're basically the Federal Reserve of entertainment. So it was interesting to see this actual contract extension. And I don't know, there might be a lot of internal politics because there are people inside Disney who actually have activists. And if you didn't see the clips, you almost wouldn't believe it. They said it was a gay agenda. They said it as an internal meeting, and they said they were intentionally putting sexual themes into children's cartoons. For years, people thought it was a conspiracy theory until these internal meetings leaked. And again, if you're left, right, and center, from my perspective, I don't understand why you want to put sexual themes into children content. If I were a parent, if I had that privilege, I would want them to just be a kid. And they used to have good morals and values. I know those words are almost lost on most people these days. It's almost like they need a dictionary, which they can't read. So, I don't know. It's one of those things where very few people know what those words mean anyway. But one of the most beloved little movie cartoons I remember was the Jungle Book. And they actually had a whole song called The Bare Necessities. Now, I do have to preface, because it's 2023, back in the day, it was a physical bear, I believe it's Bugaloo, and he talked about the bare necessities. In 2023, if you have a movie with Disney where they have a bear talking, you'd have to actually wonder what they mean, and I'll leave it at that. But back in the day, they actually taught kids, hey, you don't need fancy computers, you don't need a new car, or I don't know, you need a car for your kid. Perhaps if you're like Barbie, you have a Corvette and you're a kid. But I digress. It's about strong morals, strong values, telling great stories for everyone. So a lot of people were really hopeful when Bob Iger came back, and it'll be interesting to see, why did they extend his contract? The company's bleeding money hand over fist with all these movies. And he does have a lot. He's trying to rein in some of the spending. His goal is actually to cut about $1 billion in production. That's across everything from cable news with a couple of the channels that they own, all the way from production of movies, cartoons. They're trying to rein in some of that spending to try to make it more profitable. And maybe for all we know, he might be fighting a really tough political battle in the background that we can't see yet. Because you do have these conflicting ideologies in Disney. You have people in Disney, in terms of your regular employees, who they just want to make a film, they just want to make entertainment. Others want to inject political messages into them. Personally, for kids' films, I would think the only messages I would want would be traditional morals and values, and a little bit of patriotism, which I guess nowadays is almost like acid to some people, where they are fervently against the United States. But I digress. In terms of what I would be looking for, that'd be probably a good idea to me. It'll be interesting to see if Bob's able to steer that ship around. And I'm almost surprised he hasn't presented more of an action plan, or it'll be interesting to see what the next shareholder meeting is like. And like I always say, time shall tell. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers in July, so I greatly appreciate if you click that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to like and comment. We really appreciate the feedback. Thanks to you, the channel, the show has gotten a lot better. Improvements, everything from putting the scripts on the monitors behind the camera so we can keep eye contact. That was one the audience really appreciated. All the way to me pontificating more and using more hand gestures. All the feedback is really appreciated, and together we're making the show even better. We're making it better every single day. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.